Well, Vaughn, what is the White House doing here?
Essentially trying to help the president find ways to tariff other countries. And you see the president time and again, despite court rulings, despite the Supreme Court saying IEEPA could not be used unilaterally by the president to impose those massive tariffs on countries, he has ordered the U.S. Trade Representative to find other means. And we saw immediately after the Supreme Court struck down IEEPA, him turn to Section 122, which allowed him to essentially impose tariffs at 10% rate on all countries for 150 days. Well, those 150 days have come and gone, and they could have been extended if Congress approved. But of course, we know that even Republican members of Congress are not into these tariffs. And so there was no such legislation to try to seek an extension of it. And that's where you see the president now today invoking Section 301 for unfair trade practices that the USTR went through this investigation process over months and determined that there are a number of countries that have engaged in a myriad of forced labor practices. This is what the administration is contending. That is where they get that 10% to 12.5%. But there's also another Section 301 investigation underway for excess capacity, essentially overproduction on a number of these countries, including China, Canada, Mexico, other EU countries as well. So we could very well be seeing even more tariffs here in a matter of weeks.
Bharat, I'm always interested in how this affects consumers because I think that's what ends up shaping the politics of this. I asked our producers if we could get a full screen showing us all of the different items that these tariffs are going to increase the cost on. And they basically said, Alicia, there's not enough room on the screen for all of the items that are about to increase in cost. So just talk us through it. How are consumers going to see this show up?
Yeah, these are extraordinarily broad tariffs on an extraordinarily broad set of countries. So basically anything that is imported into the United States, we're likely to see some kind of cost increase. You had a nonpartisan analysis from a group of experts finding that the typical household is going to see about $1,000 increase in costs because of these tariffs. And I think this is a president who really loves tariffs, who is trying to find every possible legal avenue to impose them. When the courts strike down one avenue, he finds some other, frankly, pretextual legal authority in order to impose a new set of tariffs and forces the courts to play whack-a-mole in order to knock all these down. And I think the question that we have, and the question that, frankly, a lot of consumers probably have is, what is the point of all of this? What are we supposed to be getting for all of this? Okay, my costs are going up by $1,000 a year because of this. What outcome are we seeking to gain here? You know, this is about manufacturing jobs. Allegedly, at the beginning, manufacturing jobs are down 75,000 under the Trump administration. Are we supposed to be seeing some kind of change in practice? Well, why are we imposing tariffs on Canada for illegal slave use? We're not seeing any of that forced labor use in Canada or Mexico or the European Union. So all of this has a very unclear goal, but the costs are very clear.
Well, it's amazing to me listening to you speak, Bharat, how so many of the questions you're asking are as applicable to the president's war of choice with Iran as they are to these tariffs, both of which, of course, have contributed to the inflation that we've seen. You got a new poll from Pew. It shows 60% of Americans say Trump has made the economy worse. You only have 20% people who say he has made it better. The economy is the number one issue they want people running for Congress to address. Nearly 1/3 of people in that poll say that, including 15% who specifically cited cost of living or affordability. A reminder to all of us, here is what Donald Trump said in recent months about just the word affordability.
They used the word, first time I heard it, it was a word, made up by the Democrats. Affordability. They said, affordability. I said, I've been here one day. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. And we're taking care of it. Oil is plummeting and costs are coming down. Affordability. We're doing great. The Democrats gave us a tremendous affordability problem, and we're reducing prices a lot. Affordability is a hoax. It's a con job. I think affordability is the greatest con job.
Angelo, you've always made the argument to me that if the president has a gift, it in the past has been having his finger on the pulse of the zeitgeist, really understanding sort of where the conversation is going. He has so clearly lost the thread. I mean, literally everyone I talk to, all they want to talk about is how much things cost, how much gas costs, how much groceries cost. It is a reminder of just how insulated he has become.
Yeah, totally. He's not connected to the media landscape that used to give him some of that insight. Fox News is just echoing back to him what they think he wants to hear. All the people around him are totally sycophantic. And then the Republican Party as a whole, which I don't expect much out of them. But I mean, the incentive structure is so deeply baked in now that they've forgotten how to have their own opinion. So when you ask them right now, if you ask them, what are you doing? What is Trump doing wrong? Give us something. They have nothing to say. They won't say he's doing bad on the economy. They won't say anything. And that to me is the real tie-in, is that he's not able to get that insight anywhere. Now, I'm not sure that would really force him to course correct at this point, because I think broadly, he's not interested in building popular power. He's interested in leveraging as much of the power that he currently has. And so I think he's transitioning into something kind of different. But that's honestly a big part of it, is that he isn't connected to the zeitgeist, so he can't do any of those modulations. And that's why his approval ratings on the economy right now are as bad as Joe Biden's were when inflation was 9.1%.
Yeah. I mean, Bharat, can you give us a sense of just how soon people start to feel this? Because I think there is both the acute economic pressure of feeling it in goods that you buy. And then there is the sense that this is a president who campaigned on this idea of the world is chaotic. I am going to make it orderly. And yet what he has actually achieved is more chaos. And I think that the tariffs, the stop and go nature of them actually fits into that frame.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because when I was in the White House, obviously we were dealing with an inflationary surge under the Biden administration. But the thing that came through in a lot of the focus groups that I saw was, yes, people were very concerned about higher prices in general. But what really bothered them was the uncertainty of all of it and the volatility of it. You know, one month, auto insurance is way up. The next month, the cost of bacon at the grocery store is way up. And it made it really hard for them to plan their lives and to budget. And what Trump has done since he took office, really riding into office on a cost of living surge, is increase that volatility, by doing start and stop tariffs, the war in Iran causing gas prices in the United States to go above $4 a gallon. 1 week it's something and the next week it's something else. And so to answer your question, these tariffs are likely to take some time to work their way through the economy. But at the same time, the tariffs that he imposed a few months ago, now they're starting to hit people right now. Companies absorb these costs and then figure out how to pass them along. Sometimes they'll absorb them themselves. Sometimes that means that there's higher prices on everything from wine to hockey sticks to washers and dryers at the store. And I think that imposing tariffs today means that 3 months, 6 months from now, you'll start to see those higher costs continuing to percolate through the economy. And I just added that all of this makes the Fed's job so much harder. The Federal Reserve, which is in charge of interest rate policy, Trump has been pushing hard for them to cut rates, but it is making it virtually impossible for them to cut rates when these constant price increases are going through the economy and inflation is still 3.5% year over year, which is far above the Fed's target. In fact, I would say, as of today, the most likely next thing for the Fed to do is to raise interest rates, not to lower them. And that'll just be another cost facing the American people.
Here's the thing, though. When you talk about the tariffs that the president levied at the beginning of his administration, at least at that time, there was a lot of runway between what he was doing and the next time his party would be put to task for that politically. I think the difference now with the fact that he is levying these tariffs is he's got a few months until midterms. Our team has been asking Republican lawmakers where they disagree with the president. It is striking to me that they are not looking to put distance between themselves and Trump. Take a listen.
Has the president done anything so far this term that you just definitely disagree with?
No, I think he's done a great job. He's been faced with some difficult circumstances. He's handled them in a great way.
His policies are great. He's done right for the country. And no, I can't disagree with him on anything.
Yeah, he hadn't finished a job with Iran yet.
I agree with the president 99.9% of the time. And so my only thing would be, Mr. President, let's deport more illegals.
I'm not running for re-election, so I'm happy to say, no, he hasn't. He's been overcoming organizations like MS Now, finding something wrong with everything he does.
I'd have to sit there and think about it, and I just can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'm sure there is.
Perhaps I would like to see that montage, Vaughn, with everyone who's in a competitive race this cycle, because they know that the war, they know that these tariffs, they know that the state of the economy do not bode well for them going into November.
No, because there's now a litany of headlines and frustrations that they're hearing directly from voters. I think when you talk about the Iran war, there's largely silence from Senate and House candidates on the Republican side that are running, trying to focus on things like tax cuts that were part of the One Big Beautiful Bill or increase in child tax credits. And instead, there's the larger economic condition of the country is a tough thing for them to escape when the president has effectively stated a numbness to the economic impact that so many people are living as their own reality. And I think when you're looking at the tariff situation, for example, it's products that extend from these new Canadian tariffs that the president implemented this week, include everything from Christmas ornaments coming into the country to ice skates. The list of these products that ultimately will be seeing higher prices over the course of these following months are staggering. And people don't deny the fact that there's not new auto manufacturing plants that are being built as promised. Instead, they're seeing headlines of China striking a new strategic partnership with Canada, and Canada effectively lowering their tariff rate on Chinese electric vehicles and allowing an influx of Chinese electric vehicles to come into Canada while simultaneously placing a 25% retaliatory tariff on American cars coming into Canada. So our closest trading partners and allies are turning elsewhere. And that's just a reality that is hard for people to deny and move away from, because it's reality, and you can only politically spin that so much in television advertising or on the campaign stage, like the president is going to be trying to do over the next 3 years.